Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be interviewing Joyce and we are going to be talking about all things Hoodoo Voodoo. Now, Joyce reached out to me a long time ago and I've jumped on her YouTube channel and we've read live together. But she is located in New Orleans and she's into the Hoodoo Voodoo culture. And I basically wanted to ask her some questions and share sort of an interview with you guys. And I think this came about because as a psychic, a lot of people just sort of lump a lot of that stuff in the same group together. So people will hear that I'm psychic and then they'll say something like, oh, awesome, so you do palm reading, or oh, awesome, you know stuff about astrology. And I'll be like, no. And so there's so many facets of being psychic. It's intense. And I don't know everything. And so my hope and my goal for you guys on this channel is to just bring in those people and answer those questions and connect you with their channels and their work so that you guys can learn more about some of the things I don't know about. So I'm calling this series Psychic to Psychic. I hope to turn it into a podcast. Let me know if you guys would actually listen to that, or if you guys are podcasters out there. I'm thinking about doing that, but I'm not sure. But yeah, here we go. Let's talk to Joyce. I was just going to start, Joyce, and ask you to introduce yourself to my followers, kind of say who you are, where you're at, and kind of what intuitive work you do.
Okay.
Sorry, I know I threw that one at you.
All right, that's fine. I'm Joyce here at Shadow by You Tarot, with a little line up on YouTube, and I am a tarot card reader. I'm an intuitive reader. I am clairsentient, clairaudient, and claircognizant. I also practice hoodoo.
The reason why I kind of came up with this idea was that my mom just went to New Orleans for her wedding honeymoon, and she brought me back this little voodoo doll. And I'm sure it's probably some touristy thing from, like, I don't know, a tourist store. I don't know, maybe not. But I was like, I have no idea about this culture or if it's a religion or what any of this is. So I wanted to ask you, Joyce, kind of what is hoodoo, or what is voodoo? Is it a religion? Is it a practice? What is it?
Well, hoodoo is not a religion. It's a spiritual practice. It's more of a folk magic. And it did originate many, many, many years ago in Africa and found its way here. Actually through North Carolina on down to South Louisiana at some point. No, I don't know exactly what dates or when.
Yeah.
But you're looking back in 1800s perhaps. Okay. I'm really not exactly sure.
That's okay.
But they do use roots and herbs and spices and different things from nature to do this type of work. Okay, they're usually called root workers. Hoodoo is usually referred to as conjure.
Okay.
Voodoo is a religion.
Okay.
And it was originated in Haiti and found its way down to South Louisiana. I honestly don't know of any other place that I know of that really have a heavy voodoo following.
Yeah.
I really don't. But voodoo is a religion, and they do rituals and practices that, you know, you have to be initiated into voodoo. I've never been to a ritual. I've never been. But from what I understand and the way I get it is they're intentional. Like, there are different things with voodoo. Since it's a religion, they have certain gods that they do worship. Now, they do believe in one supreme creator. And under that, we have the, I guess you could say, lower level gods or deities that are called the Loa. And the Loa are separated into three families. They're families. You have the Rada, which is, now I might be saying some of these names incorrectly. I'm not sure, but this is how I know to say them. The
Yeah.
Rada is more of the calm, creative, cool spirits
Oh,
for, I would say, more of healing and light working, maybe.
okay.
Then you have, and there's two different ways you could write this or say this, the Petro or Petrol.
Uh-huh.
I'm not exactly sure the correct way to say it, but they are, I guess, the dark side of the Rada. The Rada would be the white
Okay.
and or the good, and the Petro would be the black or the dark,
Okay.
the evil. If you had to wrap it around your head. Then there's the Gede. The Gede are in charge of the dead.
Hmm.
They help people pass into the afterlife, and they're also very much into celebrating life after death.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of ritual where dancing and drumming, all this goes on during a voodoo ritual, and they have someone who gets possessed, I guess you can say, takes in the spirit of a certain deity
Uh-huh.
in one of these families for certain workings. There's always an intention.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they're invoking this particular spirit for this particular reason. They give offerings. They fruits and vegetables and libations that consist of wines or different spirits like rum. Could be vodka for certain spirits. It's whatever they feel the spirit likes.
Uh-huh.
That they do these offerings, and they're basically petitioning something. They're asking for something to happen.
Yeah.
They're asking for assistance. Now, there are rituals where they're just strictly giving thanks.
Okay.
And they're giving the offerings as a thank you,
Mm-hmm.
just to show worship and reverence to the Loa. So that's what I basically get from voodoo. Yes, there are practitioners who it's not just for ritual, but it's for private practice.
Mm-hmm.
People go to a voodooist to help them with certain things, even healing, love, dark work, to stop something bad from happening, to prevent other people from throwing bad luck on them, or even death.
It's so interesting learning about this, because it seems like it just pulls from different religions and different cultures. And I'm not saying like, voodoo came after some of these other things, but just like the rituals seem very similar to some like Christian or Catholic beliefs. But then on the other hand, they seem very similar to some of the shamanic stuff that I've heard of, like putting out things, offerings, and worshiping like families of people. I think some people just tend to really resonate with that for whatever reason. And even if you don't believe in voodoo itself, I think, there's, like you said, you can pull bits and pieces from everything. So
Right.
that makes sense. And so just to clarify, voodoo is the religion, hoodoo is the practice.
Hoodoo is not a religion. It's just a spiritual practice. And voodoo is a religion. It's a religion that you do get initiated in.
Mm-hmm.
You go through different levels, as time goes on. And that would be something voodooists would have to explain to you, because you've never been in that religion. And it's interesting that you brought up the Catholic religion, because it's true. Between hoodoo, voodoo, and even when it comes to Santeria, which is, to me, is very similar. A lot of spirits or, okay, how can I say, are similar to saints in the
Yeah.
Catholic religion. And because it's very much a hidden thing still, believe it or not, it's not exactly an open practice to do all this stuff. I mean, people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you walk up to somebody and they say, what are you spiritually? And you say, oh, I'm a Catholic. And they say, oh, I'm a voodooist. What would you do? I mean, think about it. It's
Yeah.
like, so most people do say they are Catholic, because
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you there are a lot of Catholics who practice all of these different religions.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and there are certain saints that have the same type of job as their spirits, their deity.
Yeah.
And so they'll say, oh, I'm doing a petition to Saint so and so. And because in their religion, that represents that a particular deity of a certain family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
does, I mean, not everybody practices the same, but
Mm-hmm.
if you would look it up and research it, it's very, very true what I'm saying. How some people say they hide behind Catholic saints. I don't call it, say, hiding, but you have to do sometimes what's socially acceptable to not be outcasted.
Yeah.
And when it comes to survival, as was especially back in the older days,
Mm-hmm.
um, you kind of wanted to cover that up a little bit, but not
Yeah.
really, not to so much insult the spirit. It's hard to explain for me to
No, that
explain,
makes
I guess.
absolute sense. Yeah. I mean that tends to be a lot of this work is like, we sort of hide it under different names. Like I'm even thinking, when I do readings for people,
Mhm.
if they tend to come from more of a Christian background, I'll use the word angels, even though I might not necessarily believe in them. I don't know, I'm still up in the air about that. But what I sense is something that's high vibrational, healing, just a high vibe energy. And so, we could be connecting to the same thing. It's just one person calls it one thing, another person calls it another thing. But
Right.
ultimately, it makes you wonder if we're all connecting to the same thing. I think the important thing is to respect everyone's beliefs. And even as a psychic, I try to keep religion out of what I do because of
Right.
that, so that I'm open to any belief, any guide, any angel, any whatever. And I think if you sort of limit yourself, then you don't allow yourself to open up to those energies. That's my personal belief. But
Right. It's true, though. It's true. And I have some notes here because I know a certain amount of stuff, but like I said, I mean, there's a
yeah.
great deal I don't know. I'm not the know-all of everything.
Hmm.
And I can admit that to anyone at any time because this is limitless.
Yeah.
It is truly limitless. It's been around a lot longer than I have, and it certainly will continue on a lot longer after I'm gone.
Hmm.
So there's only so much a person knows in one lifetime.
Yes.
For me, it's a continuing learning experience and that we
Mm.
can learn from one another. And also what I hope is that it comes to an evolution of the stigma of it all being evil,
Yeah.
is like it dissipates because it's truly not all evil. It's truly
Hmm.
not. It's what you make of it. You can
Yeah.
make anything good and you can make anything bad.
Hmm.
It's up to you and what you want to do. And unfortunately, people take advantage of it. And that's why it's controlled
Hmm.
because, it to me is sort of a power trip thing for some people. If they feel they have this type of power, they're going to use it against people just to see if they can, or just for the hell of it, and that is where you abuse it.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. People seem to remember the bad aspects of something and forget the good it can actually be. Because Marie Laveau, for instance, very famous voodoo queen of New Orleans, and people fear her.
Huh.
Well, the thing is, the truth about her was she did both. What we call left and right hand work.
Okay.
She could do good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But she helped a lot of people, healed a lot of people, went through a lot to help heal great multitudes of people over time, over the years, and did help a lot of people for no charge. She knew those people didn't have anything. She wasn't out to get fame. She really did help people. And that's the part many don't know about.
Yeah.
They just know, oh, she did this and she did that. Well, first of all, what I have learned, there's two sides to every story.
Yes.
And we don't know what was thrown at her first. There was a reason this woman did what she did if it was not in a good way. But she did a great deal of positive work too, to help total strangers. And, you know, that should be looked upon, and people should think and need to know that, again, it's what you make of it. And also, we do have those who are on power trips.
Yeah.
And play with it in a bad way. They abuse it.
Yeah. That's one thing I talk about often is, you know, when I teach people about psychic development, ethics are so important. You can't just jump into this work and not understand how you affect others. And, you know, it's so important to read correctly and try to do the best you can, but also kind of like what you were saying earlier, like admit when you don't know something. Like, I really admire that you're able to say that. You know, there's so many psychics, or not just psychics, anybody in any religion or any practice who is like, you know, this is the way, this has always been the way, and I'm right and you're wrong. And I think when you do this work, you know, people trust you and they're so vulnerable. And so it's so important to just be ethically smart. And I think that I'm going to segue a little bit, because that's why I was sort of afraid of this like voodoo doll when my mom brought it to me. And so I was going to ask about that. Is that something that can be used? You sort of already answered this, but is that something you can use in a positive manner?
Yeah.
Because usually when I think voodoo dolls, I think negative, like you're sticking a pin in to hurt somebody. And I think that's the stigma that a lot of people have around it.
Correct. Yeah, I have a voodoo doll too to show you. I was going to make one, and then I said, well, I think this actually, I really think this was going to be enough. And I thought, well, I mean, I can make one, but really this is the best version of voodoo dolls I can show you.
Oh, cool.
You see this? This is actually the small doll.
Small doll.
This is an authentic voodoo doll. I hope you guys can really see it.
That is too cool.
Moss. This is Spanish moss, burlap, and sticks, yarn. This is authentically made. Okay. This doll was made by my sister's neighbor. And for his Halloween party that we went to this year, and he made two. One is much bigger. And don't we look great together? Look. And one is much bigger, and this is the small one. And he had them hung up, and he was like, Joyce, look. And I was like, oh my God, we can market this. And you could actually use this and as a working doll. And you see the color matters in workings too. Orange and purple. Purple is a color of power, domination. Purple is also used to tune into psychic abilities, to communicate psychically with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Orange is a great road opener, removing obstacles, communication. Orange is heavily known for road opening, though. Opening that path of communication, the path of least resistance is what orange tries to do. And when you combine the colors, it just adds that energy of that power punch of opening the roads, if that's what the intention was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's for say his intention was love, then he could wrap this with pink or red string.
Okay.
Or if it even black, it just depends. If he was doing something against an enemy, protection against an enemy, or doing something like that, he would have definitely used black.
Okay.
You know, but this particular doll, let's say it's a working doll. Let's say you have blessed and baptized this doll, given it life.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way of doing that. So say he did all this. Now his intention is to have some woman fall in love with him,
Mm-hmm.
come to him. So he would bless and baptize this, give it life in her name, put her mind, body, and spirit into this doll.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to call upon her mind, body, and spirit, put it into this doll, and he's going to take pins. And he's going to, because he wants her to love him, he's going to stick that pin in her heart area.
Mm-hmm.
And to pierce her heart with love for him.
Uh-huh.
You know, her mind, so she will always think of him. Her lips, so she will speak his name and call out to him.
Uh-huh.
You know, this type of thing. So the dolls represent the target.
Okay.
Now, you can use it for healing work. You can use it for healing. You can use it for any intention you want that involves a specific person.
Mm-hmm.
You can even do more than one person. You can have two voodoo dolls representing a couple, and you combine them together. Say a couple that's committed, whether they're married or not, and you know, you can bind them face to face, tie them together, and then put your intentions over it, that they will always love one another and be good to one another and be loyal and faithful and be there, support, you know, blah, 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 all the good intentions that anybody wants in a relationship, binding their union stronger forever, this and this, to always have each other's back, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do that. So that's what they're used for.
They're so cool. Mine is not as cool as that. Mine is just this little.
No, yours is cool too. Those are cool too.
And I'm sure they still work.
Yes,
right?
you do. You can actually use that in a working. Yes.
And you said work. What exactly is a working?
A spell is a working.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the easiest way to describe it.
that makes sense. I figured I'd ask in case someone else asked.
Yeah, a working is a spell. Conjure. Awesome. You are putting the intentions into something to do a job.
Mm-hmm.
And some people call upon certain spirits for their assistance in pushing this job through. And you're going to give thanks, you know, before and after to the spirits for helping you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to ask them to help you. Some people don't work with other spirits. They just call upon the universe and, you know, just throw it out there. But they, you know, it just depends on what you're doing. But most of the time, if you're working a specific target, you're going to call upon the mind, body, and spirit of that person into that doll, or sometimes we call it poppets. Means the same thing. A candle, your candle can be your puppet.
Okay. Huh.
You know, you carve the person's name, date of birth. You're always going to have a written petition, or you can carve on the candle. And some people say, as long as you carve on the candle, that's your petition. I like to do both. I'll write the petition out and stick it under the plate or stick it under the candle. It just depends. You could burn your petition and let the wind take it. But yeah, there's so many different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And ways of getting into the mind and the heart of the target, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. Well, I find that interesting because I learned Reiki. I don't really practice it because I don't feel like I'm very good at it, but it was very similar. So I think in Reiki level 2, you're taught how to send remote Reiki to people. And Reiki is just energy healing from your hands, kind of sending energy out. And it sounds very similar to the puppet because we practiced on teddy bears, and what you do at home is you call in the mind, body, and spirit of the person that you're sending Reiki to, and you say, this teddy bear is them, and then you Reiki the teddy bear as if you're Reikiing that person, and it kind of connects. And so I think it's just crazy how much of this stuff it matches up, and it's all at the core. It's just about intention. It doesn't seem like the tool matters as much as what's the intention behind it.
Well, the tool really helps that focal point of that physical, that you have to have something in the physical to represent this. Now, I'm going to talk about that in a second too. But to have that physical representation makes it that much easier.
Yes, yeah.
Focus is very important. And when you have that physical representation, no matter if it's a bear, no matter if it's a candle that you're using as your puppet, a voodoo doll, whatever. Okay. Focus. You're looking at that physical thing because that's what our conscious mind can wrap its head around. It accepts it better. And subconsciously, your mind has to accept what you're doing to be able to hold that focus, to get that feeling, because you have to get into a feeling, a certain frequency. If you're in a crap mood, can you heal somebody with Reiki?
Yeah, no, you can't.
Exactly. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in conjure.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling mad as hell, I can't do a love work in that energy. I'm mad as hell. I have to feel the feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I have to be in a good mood. I have to be happy. I have to make myself happy if I'm not happy. And it's all about mind control, thought control. And you got to have a focal point to help you. All right. Darker work, you got to be angry. You have to be in a very low vibrational state, and you got to be crap mood, like big time.
Okay.
And you have to just really, have it. And that's when you start doing more aggressive type stuff. But when it comes to tools, is it absolutely necessary to have tools to be able to make anything manifest? No. No.
Yeah.
I've manifested a lot over the years without a tool one. Okay. Does it make it easier? It just depends on how strongly you feel about whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the tools do help because they carry energy too.
Yeah.
And candle work to me really does push it out. Well, you want to put your intentions in a candle. I feel the candle burning, sends out that energy and its power, and it's fast moving, and it's sending, I just find it to be like a communicator.
Yeah. As much as I advocate, healing and doing all the positive stuff, I just want to make sure that, my followers understand that, sending out negativity towards other people is not like something I advocate. And sort of on that same line, I'm curious if you recommend this work to people who don't know about it? Like, would you recommend someone going out and making voodoo dolls and doing this work without having done the research? I don't know if that's the best way to ask the question, but
no, I don't think anybody should play with something that they don't know what they're doing. They need to research and hopefully find someone reputable to teach them, at least teach them enough to where they know to slowly inch their way up. Don't just jump in whole hog, and you're going to get yourself hurt. You're going to get yourself in trouble. The spirit world is a real world. You cannot play games with them. You cannot just jump into it without any type of knowledge whatsoever, with no map. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it for people who absolutely know nothing about this. They need to research it. They need, like I said, they need to find somebody reputable to learn from. They need to research before they actually do anything. I do not recommend it just to jump into it and do whatever. No, absolutely not.
And I think, with your boundaries, you have to understand that if you're opening up to, even just if you think you're opening up to the positive stuff, you're opening up to everything. And although I don't like to talk about the negative stuff because I don't like to invite it in, I mean, it's there. And, maybe it's people who have died, maybe it's spirits, maybe, whatever it is. It's there, and you can invite in both if you're not being careful. And so I think that's the scare, I think, that's there with any of this work is, you hear about those scary stories, but usually that's coming from the people who don't know what they're doing. And just haven't practiced it. And I think that kind of brings me back to my whole point of this series is, if I'm not into it, maybe I should ask somebody else. And, any of our followers that are feeling like, oh, I want to get into this, but I don't know where, maybe we can help them connect and find those people, even though I might not know much about voodoo, for example. But I'm thinking for my last question, I'm curious what your perspective is on how hoodoo might fit into the psychic ability, if you feel like you can speak to that.
Right. Well, the way I feel about that is whenever you're doing any type of a practice like this, it is a spiritual practice. So you have to tune in to your higher self. You have to tune in to your spirit guides, your deities. You have to go in that part of yourself. And your gifts, I feel your gifts, you are basically tuning into your gifts, whatever they may be. And you're and that to me is how you're communicating with source, with spirit, of what you are trying to accomplish. And you're going within, you're following what's coming to you. You are connecting, you are communicating. That develops your abilities, that develops your skill, that just strengthens. It's like exercising that muscle, and it becomes stronger and stronger than your other gifts, start to perk up and come to life and wake up and start to come out. Because from what I've seen and what I understand, I feel we all have a certain amount of gifts. Whether we recognize them or not, that's to each his own thing. But I feel we evolve ourselves doing that. I feel that it all goes hand in hand. Spiritual work and spiritual abilities sort of, you going within, you're tuning in.
Absolutely.
And so there's your connection, you're connecting, you're communicating, and you're just making yourself that much stronger. And it's just enhancing. I guess your gifts. I mean, I don't know exactly if I'm explaining that in the way you hoped or
No, I mean, how I would sort of piggyback on what you said is basically the same thing. It's like we all use different tools, but kind of like what we said earlier, it's the intention behind it. Some tools might work better for you than for me. For you that might be hoodoo stuff. For me, that might be oracle cards, or whatever that might be for me. And I think all of it it increases your psychic ability. The more you use that, the stronger it gets. And so anytime you're connecting to that other side, I think it's essentially strengthening your psychic ability. So it really doesn't matter how you're doing it, as long as you're doing it positively, ethically, to help others, not to do anything bad to other people. I think that, personally, that's what I think.
Right.
For my followers, Joyce, how can people find you if they're wanting to learn more about what you do or learn more about your readings? Where can they find you?
Well, they can email me. They can check out my channel here, Shadow by You Tarot, with a little lanyard. But if they type in Shadow by You Tarot, I'll come up.
Okay. And I'll also link you in my description.
Okay. And they can also email me here at shadowbyutarot@gmail.com. And I will answer their questions as far as if they want links to certain things, websites, to give information on Hoodoo and Voodoo, or if they have a Hoodoo Voodoo question for me. If I can answer that, I will. If not, I'll tell you where you can find that answer.
That's great. That's awesome of you. Do you do personal or like one-on-one readings at all? I should have asked it. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
I do private readings. I do. And I do private workings as well.
Great. That's good to know. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And again, everyone, if you want to check out Joyce, visit her links down in my description below, and reach out to her if you want a private reading. She does some awesome tarot card work. So thanks, Joyce.
And thank you, Lauryn, and for your channel. Thank you guys for having me. And if you are interested or have any questions, please follow the links in Lauryn's description box. I do appreciate it very, very much.